Hola, I'm Heidi and this is Womoney. May kasamang kilig yung this is Womoney, di ba? Teka lang hihinga muna ako talaga guys. Kasi pagkakita ko sa kanya sa backstage, okay tama, nabubulo na naman ako kaagad. Pagkakita ko sa kanya sa backstage kanina, sobrang hindi talaga ako makapaniwala that I'm really having this episode with her. Super duper duper ako excited. Anyway, okay, before I introduce our very special guest for tonight, we have been talking about gender stereotypes all month of September. So we started off with a teenage female jiu-jitsu champion, si Amara Rodriguez. And then second week, we had the dela Lady Archers with Coach Cholo, of course. And then on the last Monday, we had naman yung ating classic car, classic car restorer, di ba? Na si Bianca Ramos. So, ngayon, sabi ko sa inyo, itutodo talaga natin ang kilig, hindi kilig. Itutodo natin ang girl power for this month. And we are going to end it with someone so special. And eto nga, pinag-usapan namin kanina sa backstage, how sobrang hindi ako makapaniwala na I'm having this episode with her because I'm 2 years ahead of her. But when I was younger, we were younger, talagang sobrang nung nakita ko siya na nag-release siya, it's really something that stuck in my head because alam naman natin that racing is really a male-dominant sport. And having someone or having a female in that kind of arena is really something na hindi mo makikita araw-araw. And I really feel that she started it off. That's why, nung panahon niya, siya lang yun eh. And then, after noon, parang meron na mga sumunod. And then right now, ang dami na rin talagang female racers. And I think it was really because those people or those women were really inspired because of her as well. So, okay. Okay, nakahinga na ako guys. So I will let me just introduce my guest. Sobrang bait niya guys, as in. Hindi talaga ako, anyway, mamaya magkukwentuhan naman tayo about her. Okay, she is a multi-awarded Filipina on the Asian Formula 3 circuit. And in 2004, she was the third overall champion in the Philippine Formula Toyota Championship and Formula BMW Asia Scholarship Driver in 2004 as well. Ladies and gentlemen, my childhood hero, yes. Kahit mas matanda ako sa kanya ng 2 years, my childhood hero, Miss Gaby de la Merced. Oh my gosh!
What a nice greeting. Pero medyo parang na-feel kong tumanda tayo noon nung sinabi mong childhood hero eh.
Alam mo, apparently, ang dami rin talaga nag-aabang. Sobrang natutuwa ako kasi parang lahat ng mga pinagsabihan ko, because I was really not mentioning this to a lot of people that I'm having you. Kasi nga, parang iniisip ko, talaga ba si Gaby magiging part ng episode na to? So I just told some people na close to me that she will be, you will be guesting nga, ganyan. You said yes, ganyan. And then, most of them kasi knows you, and then, they had a personal encounter with you. And even yung guest ko last week, si Bianca Ramos, if you could remember her, she's a classic car restorer. She also had an encounter with you. So, she was telling me, grabe, sobrang bait talaga niyan. Lahat sila, sobrang bait talaga niyan. Sobrang down to earth talaga niyan. Alam mo yung laging sobrang... Grabe, sobrang talaga. Kaya ako na-overwhelmed because now that I also had a personal encounter with you, because I really do, alam mo yun, parang pag mini-message kita sa Instagram, you were so friendly and parang ikaw pa yung apologetic na late ka nag-reply. Alam mo yun, teka lang, Gaby de la Merced ka na, it's fine. I know you're busy, parang gano'n. So, well, yeah, yun yung mga sobrang magaganda na experience ko with you so far. And I'm really happy that I'm having this kind of conversation with you. Fangirling right now, ladies and gentlemen.
You're making me blush. Medyo...
Okay, so do you want to say hi to our viewers right now? Sobrang...
Hello,
ayan.
hi. Yeah, thank you for having me, and to everyone who's listening, thank you for taking your time to be with us today.
Yeah, and thank you so much guys for also being here. And ayan, ang dami na rin nanonood sa atin ngayon. Mga regular viewers natin, sila Sherwin nandito, sila Erwin, si Ron Magsalin is also here, Wendy is also here, of course. Ayan, si Wendy naghakot siya ng mga ng mga schoolmates niyo sa JASM at sa Miriam.
Wow. As I said a while ago, medyo campus tour ako. From Miriam to Chasms to Benedictine. So,
Correct. Ayan, okay. So we will be talking about girl power tonight, di ba? But before we go into that, hindi ko pa to narinig dun sa mga ibang mga ibang interviews na napanood ko about you. But I'm really curious, how is it like when you were younger? Parang nung bata ka, ano ba yung mga hobbies mo or yung mga I don't know, yung you find interest in when you were younger?
heavily into sports since, oh my God, since I could walk, I think. I was, batang kalye ako. If I could stay out under the sun the whole day, I would. From Holland to soccer. Soccer was my first love, I think. Yeah. Then I really got into martial arts. Played basketball, played ping pong, chess. Yun, kung ano-ano ginagawa ko. So when I told my parents it was around first year high school that I wanted to start racing, hindi nila ako sineryoso. And I was a bit of a rebel, as I said, if you could, connect everything, medyo nag-campus tour ako at lahat. And I remember telling my parents, as soon as I hit 18, you can't stop me, I'm gonna race. Though I had no idea on, what a race was. Yung napapanood ko lang was F1. Because yun lang naman during that time. And my first encounter in racing was actually video games because my hilig mga brothers ko maglaro. And I don't know, it just hits. I want to do that. I want to do that one day. I don't know how. I'm gonna try. Yun. Then it just.
But no one in the family is into racing, right?
No one that because the closest thing to me when it came to automotive in particular was my dad used to have a second-hand dealership. Na Delta. So I grew up in the office. I grew up in the office of my parents. So I would go there and they'd give me a toothbrush at linisin ko yung kotse and bibigyan ako ng 20 pesos.
Grabe naman yung toothbrush.
Sorry?
Grabe naman yung toothbrush.
Hindi lang yun walang hose. So balde ng tubig at toothbrush. Yun lang yun. Well, one, I got out of their hair. Second, tubig at toothbrush. So natuwa ako. I had a thing for cleaning. Weird. I had a thing for cleaning when I was a kid. I used to do it also sa garden namin. I had this whole Mr. Miyagi, whole Karate Kid thing, wax on, wax off type of thing na feeling ko lumalakas ako when I would clean. So I did that a lot. And yeah, so I was introduced to cars, to auto shows. I grew up, going to auto shows and being around cars in general. But in terms of racing, my first ever introduction to racer and race and a race car was technically my first race, which was in where was that? Sa Ayala, Alabang, the parking lot. I started with slaloming. Then after I got into racing, that's when I found out from my father that he used to race. Back when he was single pa, before he met my mother, and my uncle was the one who was really into racing before. But they never talked about it. Then I have a cousin also that was really into racing.
You never talked about it. Noon lang
No.
nag-try ka.
Yes, I don't know if it was something that was so, ang tagal na, when we go to family gatherings, it was just never discussed because it's, it was decades. since their last race. And I never really saw any memorabilia and they never spoke about it. So I had no idea.
Pero at that time, hindi ka nila sineryoso eh, di ba? But did they also encourage you to do that?
No, it was more of as I said, I was heavily into sports, so I did a lot of like I
Mm.
was always in the varsity, did a lot of random things, even outside school, from billiards. So I just had a lot of hobbies. I was just one of those people who were hyperactive physically and also mentally with random collections. You know, I started off with a coin collection, stamp collection, yun uso nun eh. Then evolved to
Yeah.
cards, you know,
So they just thought na it's just one of those
yeah,
things
just
na,
something random that, and
mm,
they tried to divert me to something else. They kept on saying, I remember when I was in first year high school, they kept on saying, yeah, when we go to the States, we'll buy you a suit, and that's look at this, divert me to something else, and I was like, ooh, something pretty and shiny, and I
oh,
focused my attention on that. Then siguro months later or a year later, I go like, uy, teka lang gusto ko pa rin kamarera. Then I keep on bugging him and bugging them, and it was actually a fluke. It was a little bit before yung 18th birthday ko. My father's friend, hindi siya parang meron siyang ticket for the Porsche Roadshow, and he couldn't go. So he offered it to my father, and my father thought of me. Na inisip niya, okay, it's a one-time thing para to get her off my back. Sige, siya na, instead of him. So he gave me that slot. The Porsche Roadshow is basically a one-day event wherein they teach you the limits of a Porsche. So, layman's terms, you get to, push it
test drive.
or wrecking it. But anyway, so there were coaches and they taught us the limits and stuff like that, me slalom and everything. And I guess since I was the only girl and I was the youngest, they gave me the best, what's that? Best riding style. The best riding style, best racing, the best riding style. So they gave me an award. And with that, I guess my father was like, hey, baka may potential.
Pwede. Oh.
Pwede, pwede. So on my 18th birthday, instead of getting the usual cars na naukuha ng tao na if ever it's like Corolla nun eh, uso nun, Corolla, Civic, I got a beat up old 1980s Toyota Starlet na walang windows, walang naka-roll cage lang, walang aircon, walang insulation, katabi mo yung baterya. So my friends, when they saw it, they're like, Gab, maganda. But they thought it was hideous. I obviously fell in love with it. And yeah, that's how my love affair for racing started.
And you got, simply put, you were so motivated din lalo. Nung dinala ka dun sa Porsche event na yun, parang yun yung nag-trigger din sa'yo to really go with it like that.
Yeah, well, in a sense, ignorance is bliss in a way. I was always the type of person who would like act now, think later. Don't really think about the precautions. Just dive in and try to swim. So
Yeah.
that's what I did. So the first ever race was held at yun nga, yung sa Alabang Town Center. It was the parking lot, and that was the first time I ever really met racers. And since I literally came out of nowhere, the organizers obviously let me join, but they were a bit hesitant. Sina Bing Bang Dulce yun eh. And they asked Danny Santiago, and when they asked Danny to stay with me just to see if safe ako. So nung time na yon, wala akong driver's seat, ay passenger seat. So he was literally nakatayo inside the car, bracing himself with sa roll bars.
Mm-hmm.
And I was just like, are you okay? Kasi wala. Kasi niya, ito yung paa niya, and nandito yung baterya. right in between, and I was like, oh my gosh, I might kill this guy or kung ano man. Anyway, we did our first stint. Hindi siya natapos because when I did my donut, natanggal yung connection sa baterya and the car died. But that started my friendship with Danny, who eventually became my first mentor in racing.
Grabe, ang bilis mo pa na nakatayo lang siya doon, di ba?
No, na-stress ako bigla. I was like, are you sure you're okay? He's like, yeah, don't mind me. Just go, do your best. I'm like, teka lang. Yeah.
Ang galing. Okay, so that was your first stint during the time talaga na nag-race ka pa, ng mga unang taon pa niyan. But this is something na sobrang nagulat din ako when I further researched about you. Nagulat din ako dito. And I think not everyone know that you were also a portfolio manager before. Totoo ba?
Wow, ang lalim ng research mo. I don't know about you. Yes, I was.
Totoo ba?
Yeah, that was my closest thing to corporate. So
yeah,
I had a meeting in the stock exchange back in the day, back nung, ano pa siya, nasa Makati pa siya. And I remember telling myself, I really want to get into it. And somehow I eventually did. I think I did it for 2.5 years till the crash happened.
Tagal!
And that was stressful. Yeah.
Ang galing. Okay.
Kasi 2009, 2010. Something like that.
Nice. Because I'm a financial advisor myself and I'm quite familiar lang. Alam ko mas magaling pa rin ng mga portfolio managers because they manage a whole bunch of funds, right? But kasi di ba racer ka na that time. And we know naman that racers really are aggressive people, di ba? But in the investment industry, we also have these types of investor na conservative, moderate, and aggressive, di ba? When you advise to your clients, and I want to know your thought process. Paano mo sila kino-convince or how are you as a portfolio manager? Paano mo sila binibigyan ng advice?
Let's just say being conservative isn't in my vocabulary, so to speak. I mean, in terms of like how I assess things. Obviously, you got me in a bit of a conundrum. Wait lang. Obviously, there's always a balance. I'm still, my brain is still trying to process the truth. I want to divulge. No, just kidding. Anyway, there's always a balance. I myself, I'm more of a risk taker, and that's something that I always lay on the table, for them to know how I approach things and if they trust me enough to invest. Yeah.
And that's a good thing naman eh. You just lay the pros and cons. And at the end of the day, sila pa rin naman magde-decide, di ba? We can only suggest, right? So, okay. Alam mo, medyo maraming questions na dito sa chat box natin.
Parang natatapos sa mga questions,
Oo, mukhang okay naman yung mga questions nila, Gaby. Very, very safe naman. So, wait, okay, so that is that side. I told you, di ba, parang mga questions natin ito, hindi masyadong natatanong sa'yo. This has been my question since...
It's very refreshing.
Okay, so, all right, so let's go back to, that's the corporate side of you. So that's the time talaga na you had the experience of being in the corporate world, handling funds. And it's really, something, nung nabasa ko yung, talaga ba? Grabe, sobrang talaga What?
No,
go ahead.
I will ask you this afterwards on how you found out, because that's hidden deep. I mean, not even a lot of my friends know about that unless they were there during the time I was,
Okay. I'm gonna tell
I
you
was
why. I'm gonna tell you how I found that out. Okay, so let's proceed. So let's leave that topic already.
okay.
Back to
Let's
racing.
go back.
Okay. Okay. So that's how you got into racing, diba? Kasi you got
Mhm.
inspired and you had an early exposure on those kinds of things. And being in the um, being in the male dominant sport, was there ever a time when you were starting that ano yung mga challenges na na-experience mo before? Did you ever feel that parang someone made you feel na parang hindi siya dapat dito kasi babae siya eh. May ganun ba? May ganun bang instance sa'yo?
Oh yeah. Especially when I started. It was a little more blatant because of the fact that there were just so few females, and I was there with a purpose. It was there. It's like I was there to win. I was there to, like, prove something. And it was a time wherein just females weren't really taken seriously in the sport. I remember one of my first experiences was in slalom. I I didn't really I had a bad run that time. And usually, because when you do slalom, they bring the track to the people. They bring it to the city. So there are a lot of people that could see, could watch. So maraming mga spectators. So as soon as I left the circuit and I was on my way to the paddock, I heard one of the people outside, and I think nakita niya ako sa loob, and he was like, grabe, sayang, ang pangit ng time. And then the other guy saw me inside, and he was like, hindi, okay naman pala kasi babae siya. I know it wasn't meant for harm, but that that stung. And I was like, wow, okay. So when I started, obviously there was a lot of attention, in a sense that, okay, there's something new. There's a girl that really wants to, or is really trying to pave the way. And there was a lot of eyes looking na parang, okay, what's she doing? What's ano? But there were a lot of people also who purposely, not purposely, but didn't really take it seriously. Um, because till you start winning, and that becomes a different story. I remember there was another comment. Well, I guess this one was medyo ano na yan, a little, no, a lot harsher. Ito naman with ill intent na, in a sense na we weren't in the same, because like when you start racing, you in AAP, you start with, you get your racing license, and you start as novice, then you go C, then B, depending on how you win, then A, then S, or like international. So we weren't in the same class, but usually you'd be bunched up together. And we were racing against each other, and I remember he hit me all the way off the track till I couldn't really go on anymore. He was a foreigner, he was a Frenchman. And I remember I talked to the stewards, and I told them, usually with collisions, I don't really complain, but this one, kitang kita ko na sadya. And I remember the steward spoke to him and kind of reprimanded him, and all he said was like, I'm sure she liked it because women like it from behind. And I was like, wow,
Oh
okay,
my gosh.
okay. So I did hear stuff like that. I've heard like comments wherein, like, you're female, so when it comes to especially international formula, you won't make it. No female will make it. And I was like, really? This guy is saying it to my face? And he was very a matter of fact about it. Yun. So in the beginning, I was affected by it, and it just gave me that fire to prove myself even more. But now,
Mhm.
when you ask me on how you feel, I literally I just feel like I am another racer, regardless of gender. It's I'm not a female racer. I am a racer.
I am a
Period.
racer. Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Ang ganda ng story. Ngayon lang din namin naririnig yung mga stories na yan. Especially yung sinabi sa'yo ng Frenchman. Grabe naman siya. Hanggang ngayon ba, nag-race pa din siya?
I don't know. I don't know. He went. I'm assuming he went back to his country. He was a lot older than me, also.
Okay.
Yeah.
But at least it fueled you more para at least mag-push forward
Oh
pa, di ba?
yeah.
And to pursue this thing. Okay, let us entertain questions from the chat box. Okay. Ayan.
Okay.
Okay. Si Wendy, marami siya talagang questions.
Okay.
Ayan. Let's see. Ayan.
I-bullets natin
This is
yung mga
her.
questions. Ni
Okay.
Wendy.
All right. What are your greatest strengths as a race car driver? Greatest strengths as a race car driver.
Friend. Um, I consider myself as a as a smooth driver. Um, I'm now level-headed because I used to be very emotional, and that really, I mean, emotions. It's like a double-edged sword. When you race, it could either be the fire to win or cause you to have a mishap, something like that.
Mhm.
As I gotten wiser, I won't say age, kasi gotten wiser na lang. Yeah, and I think I'm the type of racer that could adapt.
Mhm. Okay. All right. Thank you for that question, Wendy. Meron pa siyang follow-up question. Okay.
Okay.
Pero basahin muna natin itong question ni Ryan Rivera. Ryan is also my
Okay.
good friend. And eto, sobrang galing din ito sa kotse. Okay. Was Danica Patrick one of the girl racers who motivated you, or were there other girl racers?
Yes. Well, Danica came into, well, like, I started hearing about her when I was already in racing. So I was like, wow, there's this female who hindi pa ata siya IndyCar nun eh. Who's
Mhm.
paving the way, and during that time I was, set to start racing also. I really wanted to race in the States. So I really wanted to follow that path.
And that time talaga, ikaw lang dito sa Pilipinas, no? Or meron kang kasabayan before?
Well, no, okay. Well, when it came to cars, and really trying to go international, when I ako lang locally, then I at the same time si Michelle also sa
Mm.
go-karts. So I was in
Okay.
cars, she was in go-karts, and we were both really passionate. At one point we raced against each other. We've also been
Mm.
teammates. So kakatawa.
Nice, nice, nice. Okay, eto, ang follow-up question ni Wendy na mahaba. Was there a time when you had to make a decision without all the infos that you needed as a car racer, a race car driver? And how did you handle it? Can you tell us about the most difficult decisions you've made as a race car driver? I think ang sinasabi niya dito yung of course you must know the precautions of being a race car driver. And meron kasi, di ba may mga preparations kayo, and you have to be familiar with the tracks and other preparations that you do. But was there ever a time that you had to make a decision na hindi mo na-consider yung mga information that you had?
Well, ako kasi when I read this, I was like, I was thinking more on, do you want it off the track or on the track? Because it's two very different scenarios.
Mhm.
In a sense that when you're on the track, as much as you want to prepare, in terms of like getting your body physically conditioned for the track, or depending on what type of racing you're doing, or the simulations you would make to memorize the track and everything, it would only go up to a certain extent. When the lights go off, it's all random you know, you don't know what will happen because it from the weather, you could assume, okay, it's sunny right now, but in like 10 laps it could be raining, it could be pouring, or there could be an animal that crosses the road. And it does happen. It's happened quite a few times with me as well. Or even the scenario wherein your opponents, go get in front of you or get behind you or end up hitting you, or you have to swerve a little. So there are always these like minute decisions that you would have to take a risk on. And with racing, it's not like, I consider it like speed chess. You can't really second guess yourself, because especially like when you're coming into a turn. Imagine top speed, you're at the very limit, just like 2 3 more horsepower, and you're just gonna the tires are gonna give way. You can't go like, okay, am I gonna turn it now or later? The minute you guess that like but palang, wala, nasa ano ka na eh, na you've already overshot or you've already hit the wall. So it's that type of thing wherein you just really need to commit to your decisions. When it's outside the race, that's when it gets tricky, in a sense that it's ano eh, I honestly felt like I was constantly in limbo, in a sense that um the hardest part about racing actually is getting the financial backup for your racing. And if I'd known that fine line, that fine print, before getting into it, I would have really thought about before getting into racing. Um, so medyo mahirap siya, in a sense, in that aspect, na hindi mo alam yung mangyayari, or should you get into this series, should you get into that series, because ano eh, you have your qualifications, and as you
Mm.
progress, or as the ladder progresses, usually
The
you
reality
have
is different.
the reality is different. For me, I
Mhm.
guess the situation where I really went in blind would be when I raced in Korea. So 2014, my former team manager in Formula BMW, Mr. Honsick, I raced under E-Rain Racing during that time. Anyway, he called me up and he said, like, Gabby, there's this team that wants to put up an all-female team. They want to get you. They want to, can you come to Korea to try out? So I went to Korea. At that time, I was supposed to race. I was contracted to try out the Veloster. Um, and I was supposed to have another teammate that was gonna do the S6000, which was the premier series. It was like prototype car, and the Genesis, which were bigger series. And when I went there, it was, I think, a 3 or 4 day event. And for some reason, they decided that I should do it instead. So I ended up on the whim signing up for the S6000, and everything else. Uh, I wasn't prepared for like the physical strength needed for it. So I remember my first race, and I think that was in Taibak. There was one turn wherein you're like pretty much flat out fourth gear, and it was like a 10-second turn, and I remember my neck was giving in because of the G-force, the amount of G-force. I was trying to put my neck on it while turning, and it was crazy. Obviously, as soon as I got home, I went straight to the gym, did a bunch of strengthening, to prepare for the next race. But things like that happen. I hope that
Talagang sa
answers
gym,
your
hindi sa
question.
hospital, no?
Sorry.
Talagang sa gym, hindi sa hospital. If I was that, I'll go straight to the hospital.
Yeah,
Grabe,
I
grabe
have
yung mga pinagdaanan
few
mo.
loose screws.
Have you ever been injured? As in heavily
Injured?
injured?
Uh, Stitches? Does that count?
I don't
Had
know.
a few stitches. I had a few stitches. Well, okay. My biggest incidents in racing. My first one would be it was actually after the race. I was just starting during this time. It was run what you brung. And then after that, we still had those like racing jitters, and we me and a bunch of my friends wanted to do go-kart in Subic.
Mhm.
And during that time, ano lang, hindi mandatory ang helmet. It was advised, but hindi siya mandatory. You didn't have the suits and stuff, like all those like safety precautions you would have now. I think ako ang nagsimula nun. Because after my accident, lahat ng mga kart tracks, mandatory na ang helmet and suit. Anyway, I went out on the track, and I already had two incidents, like dumiretso sa wall, tinamaan ako. But I kept on telling myself, no, 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 I have to go back and go back on the track because
Mhm.
ayokong i-keep yung takot kasi baka
Mhm.
magkatakot ako,
Okay.
after the accident. So anyway, got back in the track. I was racing with my friends, and at the last turn before the straightaway, I was slipstreaming one of my friends, and this guy, this was his first time to race, no racing experience whatsoever, and fun lang naman to. Anyway, it was the end of our time pala. So the marshal went in the middle of the track and waved the checkered flag for us
Mhm.
to stop.
Mhm.
What the guy did, he did a full stop in the middle of the track. He didn't go to the pit. So as soon as he did a full stop, I just tried to swerve, and it was kind of, I don't know if anyone watched the whole Hamilton and Verstappen thing, wherein the rear wheel hit the other tire and it just went flip. You would flip it if your tire
Mhm.
would hit the other tire. That's why open wheel gets a little bit tricky. But instead of like me just going on top, I ended up flipping. And then when the cart landed on top of me, my friend ran over me. Another friend ran over me. So
Oh
I
my,
remember,
karambola.
karambolan talaga. And naka-all white pa ako noon, diba? I remember Danny come up to me and he was trying to wake me up. Gab, are you okay? Are you okay? And I saw him, and then after that, everything just became black and red. You know how static in the TV is? Ganon,
Mhm.
pero instead of black and white, it was black and red. So I could see him, then
Because you were
slowly
bleeding
nawala
na.
siya. Huh? Sorry?
Because you were
Yeah.
bleeding na. That's why black and red na
No,
siya.
I wasn't. Okay, I take it back. I was probably bleeding. I was dazed, so I couldn't really comprehend what was happening, nor see, because I just literally couldn't see. And I remember them dragging me out, and syempre nahihiya ako, ayokong i-stretcher ako, so I kept on saying, baba mo ako. And being nice friends, binaba nila ako. And it was all bravado because as soon as they brought me down, I was looking for the next ledge because hindi ako makatayo. And yeah, my white shirt and white pants obviously had tire marks on them. I ended up in Olongapo Hospital, and yeah, I got a bunch of stitches. And I remember they called my father. My father went over, and the first thing I told him was, "Can I still race?" It was crazy. Parang, I don't know, labas ata yung kita ata yung buto ko. They ended up stitching it up. I think I still have the scars here. Um, yeah, so that happened. The next big thing I think would be, I don't remember if it was China or Indonesia. There was a race. I had a Anyway, it was at the first turn. I ended up spinning out. It was with Formula 3, and the car literally hit the wall sideways. And the first thing that I felt was pain in my spine. It was just like excruciating pain on my spine. Um, yeah. There was that. Oh, and the one in V1. V1 was the last series I did before the pandemic hit.
Mm.
Um, it was in Batangas. It was my first time to race Formula V1, and it just started pouring. But I felt comfortable in the car, and I was like, you know what? I was going all out, and at the straightaway, the car in front of me, um, since it just like started heavy rain, at the end of the straightaway, Raymond spun, and he was left in the middle of the track. And when I saw him, I just had to brake, obviously, or else I'd ram straight into it. But when I stepped on the brakes, I just aeroplane and hydroplane, and the amount of spinning, I knew it's like, oh, hindi ko alam kung kaya magmura. But I was like, you know what?
Toot.
This is bad. In a way, it was a good thing because I don't remember a thing that happened after that because I have no recollection of the like me hitting him. All I could remember is him like slowly waking me up. Gab, Gab, are you okay? Because I was knocked out. I guess for a good minute, and then we ended up going to the we ended up in St. Luke's after that. They did a bunch of MRI tests. I had a concussion. Um, I was quite woozy from like that day to the day after, but I continued racing, much to my
It
family's
didn't
dismay.
stop. Yeah, oo nga. Despite that, you didn't stop racing pa rin talaga. Simply because, siguro hindi ka rin masyadong na-trauma because you can't
I don't
remember, di
remember.
ba?
Yeah, I don't remember.
Okay.
All I could say is if I didn't have my hands device, I wouldn't be talking to you right now. So that
Mm.
saved my life. That totally saved my life because I saw damages on.
Mm. Grabe. Oh, grabe. Ang dami nating revelation na naririnig ngayon kay Gabi. Okay. So, may mga comments din dito. Sabi ni Julian, grabe, you are so brave and resilient, Gabi. Astig,
Thank you.
I am a I am a
Oh,
racer. Oh yeah, si ano rin, I think nag-go-kart si Julian, if I remember it right. Vanessa, hi Vanessa, thank you for watching. Ayan. So we have a question from Julian. How do you make yourself better? Do you have a secret recipe like exercise, diet, or meditation?
wala. Um, I think a little bit of everything because a lot of people think that racing is just a physical sport, but it is as much mental as it is physical and emotional also. I mean, you really have to be emotionally stable. You have to be physically fit as well. And definitely going to like strengthening programs, not necessarily gym, but strengthening programs, especially the back, the core, and the neck. As you go up the ladder, as you progress, obviously the cars are going to be faster, the engines are going to be stronger, so the g force that you're going to have to endure is going to be harsher. So you have to be physically, for me, the the greatest frustration in racing is that you can't go fast in this turn because you aren't strong enough. And I've experienced that. Wherein, alam kong kaya kong i-floor sa point na to, pero hindi kaya ng katawan ko because my body just can't take the G-force. And that's one of the most frustrating things ever. So, especially being female, uh, you know that you needed to develop yourself in that aspect more. And I really wanted to eliminate um, that whole part so that I could just focus on the racing, own my strength and everything. Um, a lot of it also is, as mentioned, mental. Meditation would help. If I knew how to meditate when I was younger, I think it would have done you know, leaps and bounds of like goodness in my health and my racing career. Uh, when it comes to diet, obviously don't drink before racing. Yeah,
Oo naman.
yeah, um I would. It depends on the race. If it were endurance, I would load up on protein. If it were a sprint race, I would load up on carbs the week before. So it really depended on the type of races I do. And definitely hydrate. I would hydrate a few days before the race. Because even if you, yeah, so that your body could be accustomed to it. That whole thing wherein they say that you could lose up to 10 pounds or more. I mean, they did a whole episode of this in Mythbusters, and naputunayan nila that it's totally plausible. And especially with our heat over here, um, it's crazy. So, hydrate is very important.
Okay. Napakadaming preparation. Thank you, Julian, for that question. And here from Ryan, anong favorite mo na motorsport discipline?
I actually really like endurance racing. So that, I mean, ever since I raced in the US, my first endurance race in the US, it just sparked a fire, and I've been wanting to focus on that since.
Mhm. Okay. All right. Thanks, Ryan. And here from Papa Ruel, may nagtanong din ito kanina, I just forgot who, pero they have the same question.
Favorite
What is your
car?
favorite car?
Well, now I drive an SUV because I just literally bring half my home in the car all the time, or because of work also, and the dogs.
And the
But
dogs,
before
yeah.
that, yes, and the dogs. Before that, I drove a Prius. A lot of people would laugh about it because it was so awkward for a racer now to drive a Prius. But I drove a Prius for a very long time.
Ang simple mo lang eh, no? 'Di ba? Parang kaya siguro natatawa yung iba because they are expecting parang siguro modelong sasakyan for you. But yeah, you settle for that, 'di ba? And you're happy,
And
'di
yeah, I'm
ba?
very happy. Well, I wouldn't mind if someone gave me like a Ferrari or a Porsche. I'd be more than happy. Please, please, I
Why
would
not,
take
'di
it
ba?
gladly.
Thank you, Ruel, for that question. Ayan, may
Hello,
nagpapa-shoutout
Red.
dito. Hi, Reg. Thank you for
Hi. Thanks
being.
for yeah.
Ayan.
I
And
sorry.
also,
I got you got cut off.
ayan.
Woo!
Hi, Gaby.
Hackinen.
Hakkinen
Wow,
or Schumacher?
Nemo. Way to put me on the spot. Okay, as a personal must Hackinen. But Senna more than anything. Senna. I'm a big hardcore Artin Senna fan.
Grabe, yung, narinig ko yung mga pangalan na yun. Nung una kitang nakikita talaga na magano. Hanggang ngayon pa rin, nag-race pa rin sila, no?
Hindi na. Actually,
Hindi na ba?
Senna passed away. Actually, I wasn't able to really watch Senna race.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was very tragic. Hakkinen and Schumacher, nagkasabayan sila din. Schumacher stayed on. Um, yun. Yeah.
Were you able to meet them personally?
I was able to meet Schumacher, not
Oh
Hakkinen.
my God.
That very briefly. So this was Formula BMW. It was my first race. Okay, the first race of Formula BMW was at Bahrain. And during that time, it was also no, not during that time. The whole time, pala, sorry. Formula BMW was one of the front races of Formula One, so they would follow Formula One in all their Asian
Mm-hmm.
races. And that year, it was the opening of Bahrain and the opening of the Shanghai track. And when we were there, I remember bringing my stuff, being very overwhelmed because that was the first time I would ever. That was my first ever time to watch F1 also live. And actually, I just talked about this recently. I remember I was at a meeting. We were doing a rundown of one of my practices, and in the middle of the meeting, nag-start na lahat ng mga F1 cars. F1, especially back in the day, because now there's a restrictor in the mufflers. Sobrang lakas na hindi ka nakakasalita. You really feel it in your body. Sobrang kinilig ako na naluha ako. And my instructor was just looking at me saying, what are you doing? Anyway, the helmet I brought, I didn't know na hindi pala siya hands approved. That time, hands was really, it was just starting. So they needed to find a helmet for me. So I was with the FIA. Good thing pala nawala ko siya. Ay, hindi na nawala. Pero I didn't have a helmet for it because we went everywhere and we ended up in the F1 area, the F1 paddocks. And I don't know how we ended up at the back. Michael was about to leave with his wife, and he was like, when the person with me just ended up talking, hey Michael, and then kept on talking to him. He had his cap on, his whole like Ferrari outfit going on. It was just, I couldn't say a word. And then he introduced me, and he was like, bye, take care, see you tomorrow. And it was he did it in such nonchalance that I was just like, okay, this is supposed to be like an everyday thing. And I couldn't really fangirl, but I was just so much at all. I couldn't say anything. I was like, he was like, siguro mga 2 meters away from me. I just wanted to hug him. Grabe. Yeah, so that was my experience with Mike Schumacher.
Grabe, parang ganito lang, no? Ako nga sa screen nga lang, nagpa-fangirl na ako sa'yo. Eh. What more pa ikaw kung makita mo yung talagang idol mo. Diba? Sobra. And that's why I get you when you're making kwento about it. Okay, sabi ni grabe ka naman, Sherwin. Hindi, ako na lang bahala sa Porsche mo. Grabe ka, Sherwin.
Okay. Thank you.
Pengin pera,
I'll
Sherwin.
give you the address later,
Ayan, sabi ni Julian, great people find joy in simple things. Galing ng story, mabuhay ang mga Pinay. Thank you so much, Julian, for that.
Thank you. Looking forward to seeing you at go-karts. Anyway, sorry.
Yeah, oo nga. Naku, Julian, sobrang nakaka-excite for you. Ayan. Okay, so that is all for racing. Right now, you're doing a lot of things. Kasi di ba, hindi nga tayo talaga nakita. Hindi ka maka-race ngayon because of the pandemic thing, di ba? But meron kami na kinakabisihan ngayon, which is your art gallery. Right?
Yes.
Yung vinyl. So,
yeah.
Right now, sobrang ganda nung ginawa nyo since it's really very hard for people to go to museum or to shows para makakita ng mga art pieces, right? But what you did to your gallery is you made it virtual. Sobrang amazing. And I was just looking
that was crazy tricky to do. Okay.
Super galing because I was looking at this and I felt like I'm really inside.
Thank you.
Can you see me?
Yeah, because that isn't 3D rendered. That's really 360 photos of our space. So those are the artwork. Sorry?
Yeah, ang galing because you can see all the art pieces here. You don't need to go there. And then if you want something, they just message you, right?
Yes. Because, that was the hardest part when the pandemic hit is that there is that divide wherein, in a sense, people didn't have access anymore. People couldn't go anymore. And art, obviously, is a very visual thing. So it's something that you would like to experience and see. So we, in that sense, we really racked our brains on like how to give like our collectors or our patrons a way to view the space as best you know, as best as you could see.
Yeah.
So that show
Un-
is actually called the Shit Show. Am I allowed
the
to say
what?
this? I'm not sure if I'm allowed to say this. Um, yeah.
It's
That's
okay. It's
actually
fine. We're
we have four spaces. So you're right now you're at the main floor. If you
Mhm.
go straight ahead, you'll see
Straight.
stairs over there. There you could
Oh, wait.
make a right there. So you
Okay.
could see
Yeah.
steps. You could go up, and that is a two-man show. And then yeah,
So it's really like we're in the gallery right now.
yeah, you could really feel the whole space. And then
Mhm.
downstairs is the left wing,
Mhm.
and the VR room here. If you make a
The
left
left.
over here,
Okay.
left,
Ah,
another
sorry,
left.
sorry,
Yeah,
sorry.
medyo magulo lang siyang gamitin. Yeah, so if you see the curtain over there, that's
Oh, okay,
the
here.
yeah, that's the solo of Tekla, and there's actually it's a video. You can't see it right
Oh,
now because it's still, but
mm,
there's a video of her
this one in
performance.
TV dito.
Yes, yes,
Mm.
yeah.
Bakit vinyl and vinyl? Where did you get
So
vinyl
vinyl on
on vinyl?
yes. Well, okay. We started around 10 years ago, a little more than 10 years ago.
Mhm.
Um, there's this back then it was a subculture. Well, it still kind of is, but
Mhm.
this back then it was really underground. It's called vinyl toys or designer toys. So, for example, if you say like Superman toys,
Mhm.
Superman, they'd make it by the millions, whereas vinyl or designer toys, it'd be very limited in quantity. It'd be like 50 pieces, 100 pieces, 200 pieces, and it would be made by artists. Like if you have a local artist, let's say Manansala, or
Mhm.
you put Ben Cab or something like that, and they would have artistic freedom on the design, the box labeling, everything. So that whole aspect becomes you know um that image on it. So that's how vinyl toys were, because it was something na started 97. This me getting my geek on already. It's like Michael Lau started it, and it was
Go
this
ahead.
the chase of trying to get a rare item, because like with sorry, is it okay I just get my dog, because I have a
Yeah,
feeling
go
it's
ahead. Go ahead.
adorable. He's been crying
Namiss
to
ka na
get
niya.
in. Okay. Okay. So guys, this is adobo.
Adobo! I thought
Yeah.
extra rice. Tama ba?
So
Si extra
extra
rice
rice.
ang naalala kong name.
This is extra rice. She's
Oh,
attached to
yeah.
it. Yeah. Yeah.
Grabe,
Anyway,
sobrang cute.
um
Okay, so vinyl
yeah,
on
so
vinyl.
back to the whole vinyl. I was in love with the culture. I was in love with the chase. I used to line up for like 9, 10 hours for a certain figure, and if and they weren't blatantly available. You had to be in the know to find them. And yon, I was just mesmerized by the culture. After that, I ended up talking to a friend who was in love with vinyl records as well. So we
Mhm.
were like, okay, let's do half and half. I'll put up a gallery for vinyl toys, and I'll have the art where it's based on as to help it out, and then we'd have vinyl records on the second floor. That was in Malugay, at Collective, and that's how it
Okay.
started. Um, yeah.
So, tagal na pala. 10 years na. Itong gallery na to.
Yes, yes. 10 years na of like wreaking havoc. Yeah, so
And
we
Regis,
evolved. Sorry. Go ahead.
yeah, you have evolved into.
No, we've evolved to a full blown gallery now. But in
Mhm.
odes to obviously our past with the records, we would do a record show from time to time, and we would also we really try to promote sound art. That's very much ingrained in our program. Yon.
Great, great. And Reg was asking if this is open to public.
Yes, it's open to public.
Mhm.
Some people would ask if there's an entrance fee. It's not. It's totally free. Just come. Right now, it's we don't open every day, so it's more by appointment. Just message us through Instagram or something. And yeah,
All
please
right.
come. We'd love you to see the art in person.
Yeah. Tsaka ang ano, ang aliwalas din kasi ng gallery. So, lumulutang talaga yung mga art pieces. Eh. Kitang-kita
I thank
natin.
you.
So,
It's been our third move.
yeah. So, aside from your art, for being an art enthusiast, you have another business which is the Farm Forces PH, right?
Yes,
Tama ba?
yes. Ano naman yan? Gulay.
Gulay-gulay naman to. All right. Can you tell us more about this gulay-gulay thing?
So I started it up with close friends, childhood friends, Steph, Marga, and Wada. It is basically we started as an aquaponics farm in Taguig. Uh, we focused on the whole cycle wherein we would sell different types of lettuce, then sometimes fish. Then we've evolved into like a not exactly a grocery, but we call it the coalition, wherein we would sell curated products of
Mm.
like-minded people, of like things we love. Yeah, and so you could see there from the hummus, the teas, the kebabs and everything else.
Great. So, these are the things talaga na nagpapabusiness sa iyo ngayon, no?
Yes, yeah. So ngayon, yung ginagawa talaga namin with that is more on salad kits. So medyo
Mm.
mahirap because like I'm in charge of specific dressing. So once pinapagawa sa akin, because now I'm staying in the Tanawan area, Tagaytay. So once pinapagawa sa akin yung dressing, medyo nasa-stress ako on how to send it. But
Ikaw
yeah,
mismo gumagawa?
yes, with one of the dressings and my friends do the others. So we're very hands-on when it comes to like actually
Galing.
I'm very hands-on in general in terms of like the gallery also and the fund.
Sobrang galing. So, talaga naman, medyo napahinga lang tayo sa racing, ano? Pero you've been doing a lot of things. Diba?
Yes.
So, that's really keeping you busy and sane nitong panahon ng pandemya. Kailangan natin lahat yan, di ba?
Yeah.
Eto, sobrang, ang dami natin na pag-usapan. Lumagpas na pala tayo sa 1 oras. Sobrang
Oh wow.
excited talaga ako. But before, I'm sorry?
No, madaldal talaga ako. So,
Take all the time you want. I've been waiting for this interview for so long. Super excited talaga ako. Pero sobrang ganda nung episode natin ngayon that I was able to learn a lot of things from you, and I've discovered a lot of things from you and also yung viewers din natin. No? But eto na lang, yung last question ko, since we are really talking about gender stereotypes, di ba? What can you say? This is the second to the last question, actually. What can you say about gender stereotyping nowadays in racing or wherever na ano na you think it still exists? What can you say about it?
it's well, I think it's a lot less now. We've managed to break down a lot of walls through the years, through the decades, which is good. Um, Obviously, the sad reality is yes, it still exists in certain parts. May it be more culturally conservative in that place or not, but it's there, and you know, I I have to admit I've gotten swept away with 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 stereotypes before, and trying to prove myself. Hence, yeah, we just talked about it. Hence, this whole gung ho approach on trying to achieve things. But at the end of the day, whatever stereotype you hear, whatever you hear that may affect you, it's your choice. It's your
Mhm.
choice on how you wanna accept it. It's your choice on what you wanna do about it. You know, if you take the proactive approach, or do you let it affect you? Do you wanna, and you end up cuddled up in a corner and protect yourself if you feel that's the way you should protect yourself? It's really a choice. Everything, may not even gender stereotypes, everything that the world throws at you, at the core of it all, it is up to you if you want it to affect you, or if you want it to hurt you, or do you want to let it go and just go on with your life or make yourself a better person. I remember hearing this Holocaust survivor before, wherein he had this, it's such a powerful message in a sense that I can't remember his exact words, but he would talk about um, no matter what they did to me, they beat him up, and you've seen those videos, what they did in those camps, you know but the Nazis, I they could never make me hate them. They had no power over me for me to hate them. So that was his message. He never lived with hate. And that's such a powerful thing, because you're physically getting abused, not just mentally. You're literally physically getting abused. And yet it didn't hold any anything over him. It didn't hold any power. It didn't cripple him, because that's the way his state of mind was. And
Mhm.
if you reach that state, I think the world is yours. Simply put,
Yeah.
you control what you want to do. So, yeah, that I think would be the best state to be in.
So you don't let other people define who you are. No?
Yes, yes.
Yeah. Thank you for that message, Gabby. Sobrang, I hope you had fun tonight. Sobrang,
Yes, I
grabe.
actually really had a lot of fun. You threw a lot of questions that totoo yung sinabi mo, that no one's ever asked me. So it was yeah, I had a really good experience talking about it. It rehashed a lot of old memories. It was nice. Thank you for bringing me back to memory lane.
Oh my gosh. Pleasure is mine. Sabi ko nga sa'yo, I've been, just a backstory. I've been wanting to have a talk show ever since when I was a kid. And when I finally realized this project of mine, this Womoney Talks of mine, you were the one of the few females or women that I really want to put in the show. But at that time, hindi ko alam kung paano ko gagawin yun. And I don't even know kung papayag ka, di ba? And now that you're here, oh my gosh, I really had to, to ask these questions that I've been wanting to ask you ever since nung bata pa tayo. Ay, bata pa tayo talaga, no? And guys, uulitin ko lang, 2 years older ako sa kanya. Okay? So, kaya bata pa si Gabi. Bata pa siya. Super,
Each time you say that, I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing.
what?
That is true.
It's fine. Ako talaga, sobra. Whatever. This is really a dream come true for me. And knowing that you are really a very good and genuine person, sobrang, it validates the fact that um, for so long, I really look up to you, and hindi talaga ako nagkamali. Talaga hindi nagkamali, about it na for looking up to you because you're really a good person. I could see that, and I could hear it in your voice every time you talk. I don't know if this is just a fangirling stuff, but yeah, that's how you made me feel. So I'm super 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 grateful. I really hope na talaga in the future we could see each other. Baka mahag kita. Talaga Gabi and Shoma kayo
Then
think to.
hopefully, di ba, post-pandemic, magkita tayo.
Yeah, oh my gosh, please please please. And when I go to Tagaytay, nagde-deliver ako ng milk tea sa area na yan.
Oh,
So,
wow! So, is that your business, milk tea? Akala ko,
I will definitely message you.
okay.
Ano na? Sorry na putal. Yeah, okay. Alright. Okay,
Yeah.
magpapaalam na muna ako, Gabi, but stay there, okay? So, guys, ayan na, sobrang, it has been a hell of a ride. Talagang one hell of a ride for me. Dun sa 4 na episodes that we had during this month, sobrang lala nung girl power na nangyari dito, guys. And sobra din ako natuwa because I've learned a lot of things dun sa lahat ng mga nag-guest natin for this month. I was really so inspired with their stories, and I hope you were inspired by their stories too. And let's keep this let's share this message to everyone. If you think that you have friends, you have family members who are still in that dilemma of doing things that they think that they will be judged because it's a gender type of thing. So if you think na makakatulong yung mga episodes natin sa kanila, please do share these episodes to them. Thank you so much everyone for being here. And sobrang thank you lang, Gabi, talaga. Sobrang hindi ko alam kung paano ko ito pasasalamatan dito sa mga nangyayari to sa akin. But everyone, thank you for watching and for sticking by until the end of the show. And always, always remember that you can be the most empowered woman that you are destined to be. Just believe in it. Thank you so much. Bye, guys.
Thank you. Thanks, guys. Thanks for listening.
Bye.